Mind is tricky. Yes, I say mind is tricky, even though it's illusory. Yes, that's why it's tricky. Hey everyone, welcome to Mindful Adventures. The first question: my mind is playing tricks on me. I understand it is an illusion, but how can I move beyond it? When I try, it comes with great force. Again, my mind is playing tricks on me. I understand it is an illusion, but how can I move beyond it? When I try, it comes with great force. When you say, my mind is playing tricks on me, what is this my that you are speaking from? When you say, how can I move beyond mind? The concept of moving beyond, whether it is in resistance or attachment, is also mind. And having an intellectual understanding of the illusory mind in relationship to pure awareness, pure consciousness, it can be helpful for a bit. However, the intellectual understanding is not sufficient. In true self-knowing, through and through, the matter is settled. So in trying to move beyond mind, either in resistance or attachment, and based on your question, I get the sense that this is more of resistance. In trying in either direction, it appears to come with great force. So don't try. You inquired, how can I move beyond it? Don't move. Be still. And you see that mind moves through the immovable. Sitting silently in right attentiveness, observing the perceptions as they arise and they fall, as the mind chatters and then it stops. What is this stopping of the chatter? What is this stopping of the illusion? Even starting and stopping are perceptions in mind through thought. So what is the movement? What is the stopping? What is the beyond? All of these questions may arise in trying to move beyond mind. So let's break it down to two simple questions. I say one is really enough, but I'll give you two to take into self-inquiry And when you take the question in self-inquiry, in aloneness, in silence, no need to say the question out loud, just sit, unmoving, and contemplate. What is this I thought? The I that understands that it's an illusion, the I that says my mind is playing tricks on me, the I that wants to move beyond. From where does this I thought and all of its perceptions arise and return to here now? And sit still in contemplation, observing, watchful, keep vigil. Now, if you would like the second question, as I say, the first is sufficient. But I'll give you another one. Inquire. What is here? Not beyond. Not beyond this or that, but here. And if resistance arises, observe the resistance. If attachment arises, observe this sense of attachment with non-attachment. No need to judge, no need to label, no need to cling to this or that. Just be still. You know, sometimes people may misunderstand this stillness and silence that I speak of turning into some stone Buddha statue. And just mouth closed, just sitting there like a rock. That's not quite what I mean. However, stillness, in this case, in your question, being unmoving, physically, mentally, this can be very effective. And the silence is not just silence here, it's silence here through and through. So in contemplation and observation of where the perceptions of here and beyond arise and return to, of the I or the my in your question, my mind is playing tricks on me. Yes, mind is a trickster, but the my is also generated from mind, and seeing where it arises, observing its play, observing it go away, and there's nothing to observe but awareness witnessing itself, consciousness reflected in its own mirror, and then no mirror. It gets deeper and deeper and deeper. There is no end to the depths, no height limit, no depth limit to you. The consciousness in which all of the perceptions and the things in your question appear in. No need to use great force for the mind that appears with great force. No trying, a little bit of effort. Ironically enough, a little bit of effort, really a sincere desire to sit with what is, to allow it its play, its movement. And then coming to true self-knowing, you see, there's nothing to be too disturbed by. There's nothing really wrong. Not at all. Don't use great force for the mind that appears with great force. It is just an appearance, and with the understanding that you mentioned, it's an intellectual understanding that it is just an appearance, and yet you still want it to move beyond. Well, it shows that you are not established in this clear seeing, and that being still and letting go of the attachment to a result, letting go of the resistance, not touching the resistance that may arise, the temptation to resist. And then you're back home. No need to be disturbed by the neighbors. Or the crowd. Or any illusion. If it's really an illusion, then this true understanding is sufficient. Don't be moved. It's okay though. It's okay if you are. It's understandable. Mind is tricky. Yes. I say mind is tricky, even though it's illusory, yes, that's why it's tricky. And it's pivoting and taking different positions. But you are aware of the movement. Therefore, you are awareness. The next question. If all is the self, what is this nonsense with the many mass killings and police shooting first without thinking? Again, if all is the self, what is this nonsense with the many mass killings and police shooting first without thinking? When you say, if all is the self, I see on your question, it's possible that you've heard all is the self from my mouth, from my lips. But you do not know this. If you knew it, then the rest of the question, what is this nonsense with the mass killings, the police shootings, it would not arise if all is the self. So I just wanted to point this out in case others are listening and saying, yeah, if all is the self, then why this? Okay, well then all is not the self. Within the self, the nonsense appears and moves and has its play and its way. Is there any resistance to seeing the result of the nonsense? All of everything is moving. Is there any resistance to the manifestations of nonsense? Of things that are horrific in nature, to see with the eyes and to feel with the heart? Yes, pain can arise. But be willing to face that pain directly of whatever these things bring in your awareness, whatever arises in your heart, your body. When you hear of these crimes, and when you witness these crimes, what is arising within? It can be painful to see the division, the separation, the conflict that's taking place all over the world. However, I want to point out something that's very important. It needs to be understood in terms of the self. The amnesia and the misidentification with things that are not, the amnesia and the misidentification that appears to be happening on a massive scale gives rise to separation, division from within, and in the absence of one's true knowledge of the self. Maybe they're lying dormant, but there's covers and covers and so many layers, or what appears to be many layers of misidentifications possessiveness, greed, entitlement, fear, desires. And it's due to the misidentification with that that the self divides itself, perceives so-called others, wages war against perceived others, attacks perceived others, projects one's perceptions on perceived others, and the more that people reflect the nonsense that's in your question, reflecting the misidentification through language, through action, reflecting all of that, then of course deeper and deeper in self-deception and self-destruction. This is a natural consequence. And I understand that it may be difficult to accept but as you said in your question, if all is the self, and I'm just going to stop right there and continue with this, then there are no others. There are no others. And in healing and facing, bringing attention to and observing the division within oneself doesn't necessarily mean that the perceived others will suddenly follow suit. However, it will help in coming to self-knowing, wholeness, remembrance, abiding in awareness, then this light spreads and perceived others can start to see what's reflected, and who knows, maybe it's possible that the crime will be reduced. That sanity can be returned. That this beautiful paradise can dwell in peace and sanity. People may be killed or killing, but the being is never born and never dies. People, personalities, may be divided into many different pieces through the personalities of the mind, and in misidentifying with that, the separateness is reflected. But the being is what is. Individual, indivisible, undivided. And knowing yourself, the self, you can choose what you stand for, to be a light, shining in dark places. No need to worry about the increase in crime or what appears to be an increase in crime. Just turn inwards. Be established in your seeing and self-knowing. And I'll leave it at that. Wow, it's really hot today. I think it's time for me to go. May all beings know true peace, happiness, and joy. Om Shanti Shanti. Namaste.